Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to the folks joining from different parts of the globe. My name is Noor Basha, Marketing Director at Winwire Technologies, and I'll be a moderator for today's webinar. So, as you all know, today's topic for the session is Azure Data Lake, and in the next 20-25 minutes we will learn how you can actually leverage Azure Data Lake to build big data solutions. So before we start, let me highlight few housekeeping items. During the webinar, please feel free to post questions and we will try to answer as many as we can at the end. We are recording this session and we'll be sharing the presentation as well as the recorded version in next 24 to 48 hours. So with that, let me take this opportunity to introduce you to today's session speaker. Like today's session speaker is Mr. Chandra Mohan Nail. He's the Associate Technical Architect at Winwire Technologies, and he brings close to 12 plus years of experience in the IT services industry with deep expertise in data warehousing and reporting solutions. He has been working with several customers to build analytical solutions and been working on several other technologies like SharePoint and .NET as well. So without me wasting much time, what I would like to do is let me hand it over to Chandra to help you quickly walk through the Azure Data Lake solutions, and also he has built a quick demo which he would be walking through us in the next few minutes from now. Chandra, over to you.
Hey, thank you, Noor. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all of the folks, all of the participants, joining from all locations. And as Noor said, enough about me. I am Chandra, and I am into BI and data warehousing solutions for on-prem and cloud. And today we are going to talk about Azure Data Lake, and then we'll take a deep dive onto the architecture. Then we'll also cover the component associated under Azure Data Lake, followed by a Handson, and then we'll keep our window open for Q&A. All right, let's begin. So Azure Data Lake, the first component in Azure Data Lake is Azure Data Lake Store. And it is a enterprise-wide hyperscale repository for big data analytic workloads. Azure Data Lake Store enables us to capture data of any size or of any type for our operational and exploratory analytics. Now, when I say that, in a layman terms, I can define Azure Data Lake Store as a container where we keep our data, in a vast amount from our ERP system, or it could be of your line of business applications, could be from IoT, it could be from sensors, it could be from your relational databases. And the beauty behind here is the data is safe in as it is format. It accepts data as it is, right? And Azure Data Lake Store is built on web HDFS data store. The second component under Azure Data Lake is Data Lake Analytics. And when we say Azure Data Lake Analytics, so it means big data as a service, where under Azure Data Lake Analytics, the SD Insight, which is a full stack platform, it is serving as a Hadoop-based compute engine service. Now, what that means for an enterprise is we do not need to worry about the installation part or the configuration or the management of our big data clusters. We do not need any specific skills or any specific big data specialist to provision the things for us. So in a nutshell, if I have to define data lake at a very high level, then I can categorize it into two layers. One is analytics, one is storage. So under analytics, we can call it as compute layer as well, because it does the computing part. And the other storage, you can call it as data, where we store data in its native format. Now, both these services, how it help us, it allows the ability to have the raw data in its native form, as I mentioned, and then based on our enterprise requirement or the business requirement on that data, we can have our transformational or the analytical jobs to create the data analysis report or summarizations, or moving beyond, we can have predictions as well, right? So all this adds up to a faster time to value for a modern business who is looking for some tool or some ecosystem where they can, get the true potential of their data. Now let's take a detail level discussion on Data Lake Store, which is the first component here. So the feature range from security, scalability, reliability, throughput. So I'll discuss on a few important aspects here. So as we understand that in a typical Hadoop implementation, the availability is the key thing, and how they ensure availability is within a cluster, the data gets replicated multiple times. Now, in Azure Data Lake has the similar offering, has the similar feature. So Azure Data Lake adopts the same practice, and it makes 3 copies of the data in the same data center, and it ensures that the data is always available in any case of unforeseen issues. It could be hardware failure or interruption. The second thing I would like to discuss here is throughput. So as we all know, in today's scenario, we have been dealing with a lot of data. We have been dealing with big data, and the machineries around us, or the devices, social media, our ERP systems, they are generating a huge amount of data all across the time, every minute. Now, one of the hottest topic in today's scenarios is IoT, and we know the tremendous amount of data the IoT devices, the IoT sensors generates. So this type of data, it consists of a very small transaction at a very high volume, right? And having to think about moving this data to some data management system in a traditional way, it becomes very complicated and very difficult for application developers, or from the standpoint of hardware and software related support. So here in Azure Data Lake Store, it supports extremely high speed data ingestion along with a huge scale. So we do not need to worry about the speed, and it also allows what you call it the we do not have any file size limit in Azure Data Lake Stores. So you can have a file size of 1 GB, 1 petabyte related to zettabyte. Any file size it can support. So we do not have any limit here. All right. Azure Data Lake Analytics. So this is the second component of Azure Data Lake, and these are the features. Azure Data Lake, as we were discussing, it's a platform for compute, right? This is the piece. This component take care of the computing part, where we do the data mashing, and where we do some analysis onto that data. So consider a scenario where we have millions of record and petabytes of data. Then analysis might take time here. So the beauty behind Azure Data Lake Analytics is it supports parallel processing of structured, unstructured, or semi-structured data very efficiently. And it is also capable of processing the extremely large data set, as I mentioned. And in terms of the adoption, or in terms of understanding from the developer standpoint, or the data science standpoint, it is relatively easy to learn, and it builds on the technical skills which are found in every company, or in almost in every enterprise. And from the pricing point, it has a very low entry cost, and the pricing structure is very easy to understand. I'll elaborate on this part more. So if you try to look around in the market for big data cloud offering which are available, so they are priced per hour based on how long we keep our big data cluster up and running. But in case of Azure Data Lake, it takes a different approach for pricing. So here, what happens? We pay for each individual job that is run, and job is nothing. It's a script. It's a piece of code which internally has a summarization logic, or a transformation logic, which has to be performed onto the underlying data present in Azure Data Lake. So here, with Azure Data Lake Analytics, we have to pay for every job, so that we are submitting to Azure Data Lake Analytics. So in this job, we run through a number of analytics unit. Now, analytical units are similar to task, number of tasks. So when we submit a job, I'll cover more details around analytic unit and job in the coming hands-on. So in a simpler scenario, if a job is taking 10 analytics unit for 1 hour, then the billing would be for 10 processing hours only. So we are essentially paying for per job only, no other charges. So that stands for affordability and cost effectiveness. And about the scaling, so it is scale instantly based on whenever we think that we have a high amount of data, and we want to supply more nodes, we can supply more nodes, and this parallel processing will come into the picture, and more resources would be allocated, and we'll get the output quickly. USQL. So it's a Microsoft new language for big data, and which can be used to develop scalable and massively parallel programs by making use of USQL. And USQL is a blend, a hybrid of TSQL and C# language, and it is very extensible. And we can, as it is a blend of C# is also there, so we can always make use of custom assemblies, whenever if it is required. Okay, let's shift gear to understand how the Azure Data Lake will help in comparison of traditional analytics approach. So, traditional business analytics, like everyone of us might be observing, and they might have been doing this traditional business analytics in their projects, in their enterprises. So here, what happens? It goes with a predefined process where we start with end user requirement to identify right kind of reports the business user would like or the management would like, and what kind of analysis they require. So based on that, that becomes our entry point in traditional business analytics. And with that requirement, we then our we scope out the corresponding databases and schema related queries. Then we identify, okay, for such kind of thing, how what all data sources I have, right? And then we create the curation process, that is ETL process, to extract the required data for the reporting and analysis. So that becomes our schema on right. And then finally, we'll end up creating reports and whatever data analysis we do. Now, here the limitation is the data is stored from various sources, right? I mean, after we do ETL and all, it gets stored in some specific static structure and categories, which defines a boundary line, and beyond that, the analysis or basically, I want to say it dictates the kind of analysis that is possible on that data at the very point of entry. So as we understand, I mean, from a decade and a half, it was sufficient during the early stages or during the early adoption of the BI, where the analysis was primarily onto the proprietary database, and the scope was very limited. I mean, limited in a sense, where few canned reports would use to serve the purpose. But now we are dealing with today's big data, right? And the specific, this approach doesn't make sense anymore for data discovery in today's scenarios. So let's see how Azure Data Lake helps and what all it offers. If you see the left section marked in blue, devices, LOB, apps, web, relational. So in this data lake approach, what happens? It is we can categorize into three phases: ingesting, that is ingesting all data; store all data; and do the analysis. Now the unique part or the interesting part here is we are not leaving any data. As in the traditional analytics scenario, we used to define and bring only that data whichever is required for any specific kind of report in traditional scenario. Now here we are bringing everything. We are pushing everything to data lake, because there could be some area where we understand the analysis or the reporting is of immediate requirement, but there could be some data which could be of some help in near future or in a long-term future, right? So, and we do not have any storage limit, so and we do not need to do any transformation onto the source data as well. So we are pushing everything. We are not leaving anything behind, and we are only thinking for the analysis later at a later stage. So we are social media data, line of business, sensors, as we mentioned earlier as well. And in this approach, the extract and load is very quick, and the storage of data is also possible in near native format. So once we have the data in our data lake store, so it can be used either by Azure Data Lake Analytics, or it can be used by batch queries or machine learning, real-time analytics. So as it is built on HDFS, Hadoop Distribution File System, so it can be, the analysis can be done in number of ways. So if we try to compare again between the traditional and data lake approach, so there is a paradigm shift. So in the old technique, the steps were structure the data, ingest, and then analyze. Here in the data lake approach, it is ingest, analyze, and then structure, schema on read. All right. Let's see some use cases around data lake. So as we have discussed many times about the capabilities, the supported, the Azure Data Lake supports almost everything of any format, of any size. So the first use case where we are dealing with equipment readings and telemetry data where we do not have the proper structure, unstructured data, semi-structured data. So Azure Data Lake can be of a good choice here. And same applies with experimental analysis, advanced analytics support, where data scientists, or the data analysts, where they need to do quick provisioning and experimenting for their proof of value kind of work, or proof of work kind of things. So they can make use of Azure Data Lake. And the fourth one is support for Lambda architecture. So Lambda architecture, we all know that it includes a speed, batch, and a serving layer. So it works on 3 layer. And in context of data lake, it becomes the only one layer that is known as Lambda layer. So a real-time example would be a patient critical care. So Azure Data Lake can be of a good use case here. All right, let's do some hands-on. So for Azure Data Lake, we need to have a Azure subscription. So once we log in, we have to go to Data Analytics, and then we have to click on Data Lake Analytics. So here we have to give the name, and then we have to define the subscription here. Resource group, I'll be using the same resource group. I have created it already. And resource group keeps your Azure services at one place. So, and then you have to choose the location, choose the nearest location based on the location for your business. And then the important piece here, for this Data Lake Analytics account, I have to create a Data Lake Store account. Okay, sorry. So here I'll be giving it. So I'll be using pricing package, pay as you go. Okay. And it takes some time. So in interest of time, I have already created a Data Lake Store and Analytics account already. So I'll show you. So every time we are dealing with this Azure Data Lake Store, so Azure Data Lake Store will, just a quick recap, Azure Data Lake will save all of your data, and this is the place where you keep your data files, and you maintain your data here. So I'm taking an example of a data, and this is my data set. Okay, so this data set has 3 columns: postcode, person total, and district name. So postcode wise, I have the information of how many people are living in this postcode and what is the district name. And we all know that the first 4 letters, the first half of postcode defines the postcode area, right? So our target would be to get the total number of people living in a particular postcode area. Let's see, let's do that. So I have created a postcode folder here, and I have uploaded this file by making use of this upload button here, right? And I uploaded it here. I'll go back to my analytics account. So in analytics account, I'll click on job. So we have to write a USQL script. I'll open a file here. So this is my USQL script. So this USQL script will make use of this data file which I just showed it to you. So here I'll explain section by section. So this first section is here we are defining the extract part of ETL process, extracting the information. So here the postcode rows, it's a row set variable which will be extracting the data from this postcode, this file which is stored, which we have kept in the Azure Data Lake Store service. And these are the columns I am fetching. And the second section, I'm defining, okay, what kind of extractor I'm using. So I'm using a CSV extractor, and this skip first and rows is defined when we have a column heading present in the data file. And if we do not have heading present in the data file, then we can skip this particular code. Now comes the important part here, transformation. So we are applying a transformation, and for that we have again defined a variable that is called sum results. And I am taking the first four characters of the postcode, and I'm calling it as postcode area. And based on that, I'm grouping the number of person, and I'm adding up sum and group by substring here, postcode. And finally, I am doing this output, and in the same Azure Data Store, by this script, I'll be creating a folder called output, and the output would get saved like this, postcode area total CSV. So I'll just submit it. And this is the place where I can play around with the analytics unit. So, I mean, in the slides I mentioned, right, I'll be covering this AU part, analytics unit. So consider a scenario where we have zettabytes of data, or petabytes of data, and in case of one analytic unit, the execution time will be very high. I mean, it will take hours to finish up. So to give more resources, we can increase the analytics unit here. So what it will do, it will uh, it will uh, it will run the script very fast, and it will allocate more resources towards the USQL job, and then the output would take less time to generate. So I can do submit here. This is a small data set, so I'll keep it one AU only, and it will take some time. Let me show you from my past execution. So analytics unit, I told you. So this job will take the analytics unit, and based on the analytics unit associated, it will divide the it will create the execution plan, and it will do the transformation accordingly. So this is the past execution details. So if you see, this is the job graph here, and this preparation, queued, running, done. So this is the stage typically, for how USQL gets how it prepares the plan. Now here, this was the source file, and this is the transformation it took. Green means everything is fine. SV is super vertex. In case of multiple AUs assigned, we'll have multiple vertices. So the single unit is vertex, and if we have multiple vertex coming, they are called as vertices. So this is how my output is getting generated here, postcode area totals. So that we can see it uh, in my data lake store. So here I have to click on ETL demo again, and in that file, I should be having postcode area total along with the total number of person in that particular postal code postcode area. So this is my output folder, and this is the output. And this is a this shows the smaller set of data here. I mean, to say preview, only 10 results or some 20, 30 results will appear here. Once you download this file or use it into some other tool, then you can see the full data. So if you see, it has done the transformation correctly. All right. So I guess you all enjoyed the session. I'll leave I'll leave this session to now Noor for Q&A.
Thanks, Chandra. Thanks for that quick session as well as a quick demo. Really interesting. So I know we are 1 minute over, but I have a couple of questions which I would like to cover before we wrap up. So the first question, Chandra, is there a way where someone can actually save money on USQL jobs while developing them?
All right. Yeah, it's a very nice question. So yeah, as in the demo we discussed, right? I in the hands-on also I showed it the job execution on the Azure portal. So for testing or development, right, or for the debugging purpose, we can make use of Azure Data Lake tools for Visual Studio, and it is very developer friendly, and they can run the USQL jobs on their own machines, and they won't be extra penny, say utilized in that process.
Good. Thanks. That it's really interesting. So the other question what I have is like, can we get insights for Azure Data Lake Store?
What was that? Can you repeat? No, I missed the second part.
Yeah, can we get insights for the Azure Data Lake Store?
Sure, sure. Yeah, there is a service called as Azure Log Analytics, and if there could be a scenario, right, where I want to understand, okay, what kind of activity or events are happening in my data lake store account, then we can make use of Azure Log Analytics service.
Perfect. Okay, good. I know we are 3 minutes over. I think we have those two questions for the day. Interesting. So again, thanks Chandra for taking us on the Azure Data Lake and how Azure Data Lake helps build the big data solutions. Hope you guys have enjoyed the sessions. Thanks again for taking time to join the session. In case if you have any questions, please write it to us marketing@winwire.com and we'll answer your queries offline. Thank you. Have a good day. Thanks, Chandra.
Thank you. Have a good day.